Welcome to your personalized deep dive. You send in some really fascinating stuff about deepfakes, and, well, this is cutting edge stuff you're interested in. Seeing is no longer believing. Or is it?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be looking at today. This world where reality is getting kind of a digital makeover.
It's true, yeah. It's a bit like Alice, stepping through the looking glass. We're blurring the lines between, real and fake. And to navigate it, we need to understand the tools that are making this possible. Things like generative adversarial networks or GANs.
Okay, GANs. That sounds pretty techy, like right out of a sci-fi movie, honestly. Can we break that down a bit? Because from what I've seen in your sources, these things are already having real-world impacts.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Imagine like an artist trying to,
Sure.
pass a painting off as real.
All right.
And you have an art critic who's an expert at spotting fakes. That's essentially what's happening inside a GAN. You have these two AI algorithms that are going head-to-head. One churns out these incredibly realistic deepfakes, and the other is constantly analyzing them, trying to find the flaws, the inconsistencies that give them away.
It's like a constant game of cat and mouse.
Right.
But with AI.
Exactly, exactly. And the fascinating thing is, as that critic, AI gets better at spotting the fakes. The artist AI has to get better at creating them. It's an arms race that's driving this incredible realism that we're seeing in these deepfakes.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this is more than just a tech thing. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, the misinformation angle. You even flagged an article about the 2019 Pelosi video where her speech was manipulated. I think that's when a lot of people realized how dangerous this could be.
Right, yeah. That's a prime example of how even a relatively simple deepfake can go viral and have real impact on public perception. And the technology.
Yeah.
It's increasingly accessible. What was once, in the hands of Hollywood studios and tech giants, it's filtering down to individuals with a laptop and an internet connection.
So in a world where anyone can create a convincing fake video, what does that mean for, well, anyone? I mean, we're talking potential damage to reputations, careers. I mean, it's kind of chilling.
It is. That's why I think this deep dive is so important because being aware of these pitfalls is the first step in protecting ourselves.
Right. And I think we all want to know how to do that.
Right.
So how do we actually spot these things? What are the telltale signs that we should be looking for?
Well, there are some things you can keep an eye out for, but it's getting harder and harder. The technology is getting so good that sometimes even experts have a hard time telling. But some things you can look for are like inconsistencies in lighting and shadows or unnatural blinking patterns. Sometimes the audio and the video don't quite sync up right.
Oh, okay. So it's those subtle things.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't necessarily pick up on at first glance.
Exactly. Exactly. And you have to be really paying attention to catch those things.
So it's not just about like watching passively. You have to be actively kind of analyzing what you're seeing.
Right. Right. You have to engage your critical thinking skills.
And I think that's something that we're losing a bit in this age of, instant information, where we're bombarded with so much content that we don't always stop to think about, whether it's real or not.
Absolutely. We've become, so accustomed to just taking things at face value. But now we have to, question everything.
Yeah. It's almost like we have to go back to basics, back to the days when, we were taught to question our sources and not just believe everything we read.
Exactly. We have to, reclaim that critical thinking muscle.
Yeah. Because the stakes are higher now.
They are. They are.
It's not just about, being fooled by a funny meme. We're talking about things that can affect our lives, our elections, our relationships.
It's true. We're talking about the erosion of trust in, our institutions, in each other.
And that's a scary thought. So what can we do about it? I mean, besides, be more vigilant ourselves.
There are a number of things.
Right.
One is education. We need to teach people about deepfakes, how they're made, how to spot them, and the potential harm they can cause.
So it starts with awareness.
It does. It does.
And, well,
we also need better tools to detect deepfakes.
Okay, so software that can analyze videos and images and tell us if they've been manipulated.
Exactly. And there are some promising developments in that area. Companies like Microsoft and Google are working on AI-powered detection tools.
So we're fighting fire with fire, using AI to spot the fakes created by AI.
Precisely. It's like training a digital detective to spot the signs of a forgery.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But can technology really keep up with, the constant evolution of deepfakes?
That's the challenge. It's a constant arms race. As the detection tools get better, The deepfakes get more sophisticated.
So it's like a never-ending bad...
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
But we can't afford to give up.
No, absolutely not. So what else can we do? I mean, are there any other solutions out there?
Well, there's
That's
also the legal angle.
Okay. So like laws against creating and spreading deepfakes.
Exactly. In some places, there are already laws that specifically target malicious deepfakes.
That's good to know. But how do you enforce those laws? I mean, it seems like it would be really difficult to, track down the creators of these deepfakes.
It can be challenging.
Yeah.
But law enforcement is getting better at it.
Right.
The more awareness there is, the more likely it is that people who create and spread malicious deepfakes will be held accountable.
Right. So it's a combination of things. Education, technology, and the law.
Yes. It's a multi-pronged approach.
And it sounds like we're just at the beginning of this journey.
We are.
This is.
Just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here, but we've only scratched the surface. So let's take a deeper dive into some of these solutions in our next segment.
Sounds good.
So, we talked about how to spot these deepfakes, but what about the bigger picture? I mean, what can we actually do about this whole deepfake problem?
Yeah, you're right. Spotting them is just one piece of the puzzle. We need to be thinking about solutions on multiple levels.
Okay, so give me the lay of the land. What are some of the most promising approaches out there right now?
Well, like we were just talking about, technology is going to play a huge role. We need better tools to detect these deepfakes. And thankfully, there are a lot of smart people working on that right now.
Like what kind of tools?
Well, for example, companies like Microsoft and Google are developing AI-powered detection tools that can analyze videos and audio for inconsistencies.
So wait, we're using AI to catch AI?
Exactly. It's kind of like a digital detective, trained to spot the telltale signs of a forgery.
That's pretty wild. But can you give me an example, like what kind of inconsistencies would these tools pick up on?
Sure. They can analyze things like unnatural blinking patterns or inconsistencies in lighting and shadows, even tiny audio anomalies that the human ear wouldn't catch.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's those subtle things that give it away.
Exactly. And these tools are getting more sophisticated all the time.
That's good to know. But technology can only take us so far, right? What about, like, the legal side of things? Are there any laws in place to prevent people from creating and spreading these deepfakes?
Yeah, that's a really important point. And the good news is that lawmakers around the world are starting to take this seriously.
So there are actual laws against deepfakes?
In some places, yes. For example, in the U.S., there are laws that specifically target the creation and distribution of deepfakes when they're used with the intent to deceive or harm.
Okay, so that makes sense. But how do you actually enforce those laws? I mean, wouldn't it be hard to track down the creators of these deepfakes?
It can be challenging, for sure. But law enforcement is getting better at it. And the more awareness there is, the more likely it is that people will be held accountable for creating and spreading these malicious deepfakes.
Right, so it's a combination of things: technology, laws, and public awareness.
Exactly. It's a multi-pronged approach.
And it sounds like it's still evolving.
It is. This is a very new challenge, and we're still figuring out the best ways to address it.
But you seem optimistic.
I am. I think human ingenuity will rise to the challenge. We'll find ways to mitigate the risks and harness the potential benefits of this technology.
Okay, now you've got me curious about the potential benefits. We've talked a lot about the dark side of deepfakes, but are there any ways they could be used for good?
Oh, absolutely. There are some really exciting possibilities out there.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, for example, in the realm of entertainment, deepfakes could be used to create breathtaking special effects, or even bring historical figures back to life on screen.
Wait, so we could actually see, like, Abraham Lincoln giving a speech?
Potentially, yes. It would be like a super-powered version of CGI.
That's incredible. What about other areas, like education, for instance?
Yeah, deepfakes could revolutionize the way we learn. Imagine students being able to interact with virtual versions of historical figures, like having a conversation with Albert Einstein or Martin Luther King Jr.
Wow, that would be amazing. It would make history come alive.
Exactly. It's about making learning more immersive and engaging.
Okay, so entertainment and education, I get it. But what about something more practical, like healthcare?
Well, even in healthcare, deepfakes could have a profound impact.
Really? I'm having trouble picturing that.
Well, think about personalized virtual assistants powered by deepfakes. They could provide support and guidance to patients, even simulate real-life scenarios to help them manage their conditions more effectively.
So like a virtual therapist?
In a way, yes. It's about empowering patients to take control of their health and well-being.
That's a really interesting concept. So it sounds like deepfakes have the potential to not just enhance our lives, but even save them.
Precisely.
That's pretty amazing. It's like this technology is a double-edged sword.
It is. It all comes down to how we choose to use it.
Right. So what are your thoughts on the ethical considerations? I mean, where do we draw the line? How do we ensure that this technology is used responsibly?
Those are great questions. And honestly, there are no easy answers. As deepfakes become more sophisticated, we need to have open and honest conversations about the ethical implications. We need to establish guidelines for responsible use, and we need to hold people accountable for misuse.
Yeah, it feels like we're entering uncharted territory here.
We are, but I'm confident that we can navigate this challenge if we approach it with wisdom and foresight.
It's a lot to think about, you
Yeah.
know? It really is. Like, where do we go from here?
It is. It's a new world we're stepping into.
Yeah, and you know what? I think what's so fascinating about this whole deepfake thing, it's not just the tech itself, right? It's how it makes us question everything.
Right, yeah. It challenges our very perception of reality.
Exactly. Like, what can we trust anymore? And I think that's what's so unsettling for a lot of people.
It is unsettling, yeah. It's like the rug's been pulled out from under us.
Yeah, and we're all kind of scrambling to find our footing.
Right,
But,
yeah.
you know.
I have to say, despite all the potential dangers, I'm also kind of excited about the possibility.
Oh, me too. There's a real sense of, you know, the unknown. Like, we're on the cusp of something big.
Yeah, it feels like a turning point. Like
Yeah.
we're at a crossroads.
We are, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to decide which path we want to take. That's a good way to put it. So I guess the question is, what can we do as individuals to make sure that this technology is used for good and not for harm?
Well, I think the first step is awareness. We need to educate ourselves
Mm.
about deepfakes, how they work, the potential dangers, and the potential benefits.
Right, so knowledge is power.
It really is.
Once we have that knowledge, we can start to make more informed decisions
Yeah.
about the role we want this technology to play in our lives.
Exactly.
You know, I think it's important to remember that technology itself is neither good nor bad.
Right, yeah.
It's a tool,
It's a tool. That's it.
and it's up to us to decide how we use it.
And how we let it shape our world.
Well said. Well, I think that's a great place to leave it for today.
I agree. Yeah.
It's been a fascinating conversation, and I know I've learned a lot.
Me too, absolutely.
So, to our listener out there, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of deepfakes. We hope you found it informative and thought-provoking.
And remember, keep asking questions, keep learning. And
Righty.
don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
That's right. The future is in our hands. Let's make it a good one.
Absolutely.
Until next time, stay curious.